I'm excited to have you on, Bud. Like, this is good conversation. You know, we always have good conversations, so might as well do it in front of the cameras. So
Sure,
people
right.
can figure out who you are, who I am more. Why don't you tell everybody your name? And you don't have to look in the camera, but you can just kind of talk to me about it. Tell me your name, and then tell me a little bit about your childhood, how you grew up. I wanna hear it.
So my name's Kyle Mason, born and raised Denton, Texas, Flow Hospital. It's no longer there no more. I've been here all my life, you know.
Denton, Texas, man.
Yeah, good old Denton, Texas.
It's good. So how was your childhood?
My mom raised me. Well, my mom worked. My granny took care of me. She babysitted me every time that, my mom went to work. My sister, she was doing her thing.
You just have one sister?
Yeah, well, I have 4 sisters, but one biological sister. And I didn't know the other 3 until I got 13 and 14 when I actually met my dad, that I thought was my uncle.
That's a good start.
That was very weird.
Yeah.
So I had the normal, upbringing. I was very sheltered in life. My mom and granny, they believed in, ever afters. They Disney movies all day long. That's it. No bad movies. But when I met my dad, oh boy, everything kind of changed realistically in a worldly sense, and I went knee deep at that point. I made a bad decision. I dropped out of high school. After I met my dad, I was 13. I got to know him. I was enlisted in the Army at the age of 16 with Jeremy, with 2 of my homeboys.
Yeah.
They were a grade ahead of me, and it went south when they went ahead and went to the Army, and then it gave me a whole year to lead astray. And I started going to the bar with my dad, and that's when my whole life changed.
So that's when it started.
Yep.
So you're at the crossroads of going to the Army after high school, and then you're in that year period of trying to get in? Or
Well,
what
no,
was it?
I was already in. I was already enlisted. So I enlisted in 11th grade. My mom and dad signed off and said, hey, yeah, he can go, because I was going to be 17 when I graduated.
Were you excited about that?
Oh, man, it was awesome, because I had 2 best friends,
Yeah.
and that I looked up to them. We worked at a fast food restaurant together for 4 years. Almost.
Wiener Schnitzel?
Yeah. I used to be the hot dog, the guy dressed in the hot dog. We used to tackle each other.
Yeah.
We just had a good fellowship, good brotherhood, there. Red Bull and the chili, all kinds of craziness, And then when those 2 guys left, I was just kind of left to my own defense, and I wasn't ready. My dad really didn't. Well, he didn't teach me nothing. He had things going on with him that prohibited him to teaching me the right way how to be.
So it's almost like your best friends were your ground, your stabilizer.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
And when they left,
They were my rock. You know what I mean? Because they actually, my whole thing is actually being liked, being wanted around, not just having to be around.
Yeah.
My family all loves me, but man, they can't stand me because I'm just I'm all over the place.
Yeah. But so yeah, when your best friends left and you got around your dad, and your dad wasn't doing the right things?
He was sober at that time, but he was an alcoholic all of his life, barfly. He drove trucks, he did cocaine, and he was barflies. Well, my 3 other sisters that I mentioned earlier, they are the ones that kind of put the drugs in front of me. I met a girl at the bar. When I was hanging out with my dad, we used to do karaoke all the time. A lot of country karaoke. Never wore boots in my life until I met my dad. It's horrible, okay?
Were you here in Denton?
Yeah, we were in Denton. So it was Crazy Horse, Jonathan's, Rock and Rodeo, and there's Groovy Mule. There's a lot of bars that we went to, VFW, and just sang karaoke. And we did it 3 or 4 times a week. And that's something that my dad enjoyed. And I wanted to get to know him. I wanted to hang out with him. So I started doing the things he did. And it didn't lead into a good way.
Yeah. So, if you don't mind, tell a little bit about what happened after that year or during that year before you went into the Army.
So I met this girl, I won't say her name, but she was a short little girl, you know what I mean? And she stole my heart, and we danced real good, and
You met her at a bar?
Yep, met her at a bar. My dad approved. My mom didn't. But I wanted to go because my dad. I was always looking for my dad's approval. You know, even to the day he died, he never said he loved me. He never said I did a good job. He never went to none of my games, even when he found out I was his son. You know, I played soccer, I played powerlifting, I played football, and he never went to one. My mom, she never missed one. You know,
So she balanced.
man,
she took up for her.
She did it. You know what I mean? But I didn't give her enough credit at that time.
Yeah.
You know, and looking back now, I'm like, man, you know, I have a lot of remorse from the person I was. You know.
We all do.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
all
for
do.
sure.
But in hindsight, it's like, man. But it makes you who you are now.
You sure right.
And my story too. But go ahead. So, well, before we go, so your dad, do you know how his dad was? Do you know how he was
Actually,
raised?
yeah. So I actually got to know him for about 4 years before he passed.
Your grandpa?
Yes, is Paul Mason. That's what I used to call him. But I knew him for about 4 years. So it was my brother-in-law, my pawpaw, and then my dad passed all in the same year.
Wow.
Which were the 3 leading dominant male figures that I had to look up to, especially after I dropped out of high school. I ditched my plans, and I went to just saying, okay, I want to be a part of me, you know, where I came from. Because my whole life I didn't really click with my mom's side of the family. I was the oddball. To me, they were the weirdos because they like Star Trek and I like Star Wars.
So who were you more like, your mom or your dad?
My dad, for sure. But when it came to like the fun aspect, the just I got bored real quick. I always had to do something. My mom and them, they're thinkers. I'm a worker. If that, you know, like I just had to do something to my hands. I had to stay going.
That's how your dad was?
Yes, my dad was like that. When he had a pacemaker and a defibrillator when he died for 7 years before he died. But he had gardens. You know, he was a trucker all of his life. But when he couldn't drive no more, he had an acre garden. He tended to cattle up in Fairfield. He raised pigs. Like he was always working, doing something, even if they told him not to.
Yeah. How did he pass?
Heart attack, actually. See, I was ignorant to the fact that, you know, hospice centers back then were for a place to go and transition to saying he's fixing, you know, and that's what it hurts me today, just because you know, he died the day before my birthday. Well, February 14th he passed away. I buried him February 17th. My birthday is February 18th.
What year was that?
That was 2008. 2008, 4 years
2008.
after I was supposed to graduate.
Wow. So
You
that
know,
was 4 years after high school years.
Yep, after high school. So I had 4 solid years, but you know, I was in and out of jail already at that point.
Yeah. So tell us what led you into the jail?
So I met this girl, and you know, I dabbled weed at that point. You know, with some of my high school buddies that were lower class than me. We used to skip school and get high and go back, or we get drunk. So I met this girl, like I said, at the bar, and it just kind of escalated into her saying, "Hey, do you know where to get any uppers?" And you know, I was like, only thing that came to my mind was my sisters. You know, my other 3 sisters, man, they're bad. Like you know, they're gangsters.
Yeah.
So I hit them up, and that's when I started using methamphetamines. And it took 20 years before I said no more. 2 decades.
Yeah. So, do you have any stories?
Man, oh man. How many times did I run from the cops?
Well, any that stand out that you like to talk about that you learned from? People can relate in different ways, you know.
I guess that the biggest thing that sticks in my mind in my youth, you know, I was addicted to the needle. Not just to methamphetamines, but I was addicted to the needle. And I did that for 20 years. And one thing I guess that I would say is that haunts me today, being sober, I have dreams of it still, is not being able to be there for my dad when he died, because I chose to shoot dope in my arms and be numb.
I think there's more to it than that. And I learned this when my grandma was in hospice, where you're guilty because you want to be there, and sometimes you're not, and then you're beating yourself up because you didn't, because you're doing drugs. Now, I wasn't doing drugs, but I found it tough to be around my grandma. You have to remember, how much emotion you deal with when you're around your dad or my grandma. And if drugs was your coping, that's probably why.
I was never taught any way different.
And you're young, and I wouldn't say you chose that over him, but you chose to cope instead of be stuck in the pain of being there.
100%.
So I'm not saying it's right, but you have to look at why you did what you did.
Yeah.
It's not because you wanted to do that, obviously. You wanted to be there, but the same thing with my grandma. I look back when she was alive, and I made a pact to go visit her every Sunday, and this is before I knew she was sick. And I knew I was good with work, right? I knew I'm good with the job. If it's on schedule, I'm going to be there. Family, not so much, because I was taught, we lived in a dysfunctional family. I'll get to all that, but I wasn't taught to be around my family. I was taught to be around friends. And so that's where I feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable around family.
Yeah.
So I knew that, and so I put it the last year of her life, and I'm so glad I did this. But I didn't even know she was sick, and I put it in my schedule to go visit her every Sunday. And I went every single Sunday. I think there was like one Sunday where I requested off because I was gone or something. But I pretty much made every Sunday, and that's how I realized she was sick. Took her to the hospital, and I'd like to think that she got a good 6 months more out of her life because I made it a point to go and find that out.
Love is strong, man.
Yeah. So I think people don't realize that they beat themselves up when people are sick, family members. There's a lot of emotion in that. And sometimes it's hard to be around that.
Yep.
My grandma was depressed the latter years of her life. So I realized in hindsight now, looking at it, why was it so hard for me to go over and visit her? Well, she was a hoarder, so she had stuff in her house stacked. I don't know if you remember that back in the day.
I remember.
She had stuff in her house, and she wasn't dirty. Everything was clean,
dirty, yeah.
but there was stuff everywhere. And so going to see her was very emotional for me. Now that I look back and see it, I realize I was very depressed when I went over there because it was around her, which I loved my grandma, loved her like a mother. But to see her depressed and to be around the type of house that she had, in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, okay, that's probably why I never wanted to be over there. It had nothing to do with her as my grandma, but everything to do with her state of mind and the surroundings.
So I can definitely relate. But my position is my mom was the depressed one, and our house, my mom's house was the one I was raised in, the one I grew up in was unstable. Like far as it was I grew up with cockroaches, hamburger helper every night, ground beef every week for sure. It's just like but my granny's, that was my safe haven. My favorite dessert, she always had it every day, no matter what. Even all the way up till she died, she always had it, which was marshmallows and potato chips. I loved it.
That's weird, but that's cool. But so again, if we get back to, do you have a good, maybe not a good one, but a story of your drug days? Like tell people what you went through, so there's could be somebody out there that learns or has been through something deep, and anything that you feel comfortable talking about.
So I guess I would talk about the first child I lost through my addiction. It was right before my dad passed away. I was dating this girl and I got her pregnant. Me and her were having troubles. We were doing methamphetamines. I started shooting really heavy, and she was just a smoker. I didn't do nothing, and when I did do drugs, I disappeared. I couldn't be around nobody. I already have insecurities. My mental state was already messed up. Because I just lost my brother-in-law through this.
How long were you with her?
This one was 5 years. I was with her for 5 years. That's when my dad knew. That's the last one that he knew. Which hurt. She ended up trying to stab her dad 70 times and ended up in a mental ward.
Oh wow!
That was mind blowing.
So she didn't get out of.
No, she's still in there right now. But that was mind blowing to see. After all these years, where she ended up. But she aborted our child, and she blamed it on me, of course, because I still harbored a lot of that guilt and that blame because I didn't man up. You know, I struggled. You know, my dad wasn't around. I wasn't taught how to be a man. I was looking in all the wrong places. You know, I started hanging out with the gangbangers, Aryan Brotherhood, White Knights. I mean, a lot of white premises.
Trying to find your place.
My place, you know, because ever since I left high school, and my two closest homeboys, you know, they left, and you know, I didn't know where to go.
By yourself.
Yeah, you know, and I always had somebody to kind of hold on to, you know. It's just that was my, you know.
And it's so crazy, and not to interrupt you, but in high school, I remember you disappeared, or I don't even know if you disappeared. I just know that in junior year we were hanging out, and then I don't remember anything about you after that.
So, you know, that's when I started smoking weed with a younger. I was in 11th grade. He was in 10th grade. And when my friends left, my two best friends that were really close to me, like I went to one of my best friends' house every day. His family, we ate together because my mom's house was not a place I wanted to go. I always wanted to run from it because it was just it's not what I wanted, and I wasn't comfortable. It was nasty, and I just wanted to be gone. And when they left, I didn't have nowhere else to go. You know, and the friends that I did have in high school, then I didn't have the money. You know, I didn't have the brains either, and you know, and that might be judging myself, but I looked at it like that. Like when I lost those two guys, man, I lost a lot. You know.
Yeah, and it's not having the brains. You didn't have the guidance.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the brain, but you didn't have the guidance, and it's tough when you don't. It's good that you see that now because you need to self-reflect and understand why you feel the way you do the things you do, why what happened, and don't hold grudges and let it hold you back.
Definitely not.
It's like
Definitely not.
it made you who you are now. It makes you more thankful.
100%. I mean, without the struggles and the trials and tribulations that I went through my whole life, my heart today wouldn't be what it is today. And I got that heart from my granny. I got that struggle from my granny. You know, because she never quit. She said, idle mind is a devil's workshop. You know, don't sit there and mope. Just do it. You know, I was probably 4 or 5 years old into the drug abuse at this time. Yeah. And my dad was still alive. My brother-in-law just passed away, and my girlfriend at the time told me that she was pregnant. We got a pregnancy test, and she was pregnant. You know. She's carried our son Isaiah. I named him after my first best friend in the whole world was Isaiah. Sorry, but
no, you're good.
We played soccer before. Actually, he's the one that got me into the gym and started going football because all I did was play soccer. But then he got me out of my comfort zone. We used to ride bikes together at school. Yeah. So, anyways, I named my son after him, and I lost him in her womb still at 7 months. Yeah. She was 7 months pregnant, and talked her stepdad to abort my child. Yeah. And at that point, I went knee deep into every addiction that I could get into.
To cope.
Yeah. I mean, I felt I let my dad down, you know, because I'm the last heir. Like, I'm the last son in my dad's name.
Well, she chose to do that.
She chose it. You know, I fought it, but, you know, but still, I felt blamed just because I should have been able to quit a click like that. Mm-hmm. You know, but some things that people don't understand is that addiction is that strong. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't just fighting one addiction, I was fighting multiples. Yeah. You know, codependency is real.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it can dictate your life. And, you know, here's the thing is when it does happen, if that's something you're looking to do, still have children one day, you know, going through all of that, it's just, you never want to say that was necessary for anybody, but it happened. And so now you have those lessons and those challenges you had to get through to really appreciate.
And, you know, looking back now, you know, and I didn't see it back then. You know, I was in the world of hate at that point. But it gave me the opportunity because, like I said, my brother-in-law passed away right before my dad. And my brother-in-law had 4 kids. And this was my blood sister's kids that all lived in my mom's house with my sister and me. So I had an opportunity after I went to prison for 3 years to actually be a part of their lives in a big way, and mold them into not growing them up the right way, but showing them not what to do. I'd never taught him a good thing. I taught him all the bad things, and I told him, "Don't you do me," and I put the fear of God in him. I said, "Look, you better not,"
Yeah. So what would you say your lowest point was? What led you to prison?
So I started hanging out with a guy that I grew up with, actually, back when I was like 3 and 9. Like, it was a family friend that my aunt and his mom was best friends. Well, I started hanging out with him, and I was in the drugs a little bit already, and pretty hardcore, because I was aggravating. I had 3 counts of aggravated robbery, 3 counts of robbery, and 3 counts of burglary, all from drug dealers. I started, I couldn't afford my habit, and I couldn't help my mama. My mama was struggling. She just got a notice that she was fixing to lose her job after 30 years. With all these kids in the house, plus my sister barely working. She worked at fast food. Fast food then, they didn't pay that much. They didn't pay much at all. And here I am, the freeloader, so I had to do something. The dude I was kind of running with, my codependent partner, person that I kind of leaned on, "Hey, man, I got a lick." Okay, I'm going to do what I got to do. In my mind at first, I was like, I'm doing this for my mom and my family, but that wasn't the case. Yeah. It's crazy how addiction tricks your mind to think something different or true than what it really is.
Yeah, to make it make sense to you, so you go
justify a justification and rationalization.
Yep. Yeah. And so you got caught.
Yeah, so I got caught, and they tried to give me 30 years at first. And I never been in trouble a day in my life besides driving license suspended. And they tried to give me 30 years because the guy that we robbed, actually, he knew me from high school, and that killed me because we were friends too. We were okay friends, but I was that desperate. I was in that big of a addiction at that point, just at 5 years, that I didn't care. It was just about what I needed and what I wanted.
Survival.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and so you got caught, went to jail. Do you have any jail experiences?
Yeah, so when I went to prison, man, I actually, it's kind of weird how God works in your life. I'm not a Bible thumper by no means, but I definitely believe that God loves us, and there's certain things that people go through in life for a reason. And I think one of those things was me getting caught and going to prison and having to sit down and being independent, having to face the world by myself without my mama, because my mama always bottomed me out, but this time she couldn't. She was always there for me.
Yeah.
So I went down, and I got blessed and going to God Pods. I messed that up. I got jumped, got caught up in a riot, got stabbed by a chicken bone, back shoulder. Like, I've never been in prison. I'm a good guy. I don't want to fight. Let's eat some honey buns together. I don't want to fight.
So what was that first day like? Do you mind?
Oh my gosh! So when you first pull up into the prison yard, you have to get out in this big old white bus, and everybody gets naked. Everybody. I mean, but and you're standing like this close, knees to butt cheeks, that close to each other, and then you have to bend over. So your nose is almost touching the other person's back, and you have to cough, and you have to spread your cheek. It's very indecent. I don't know how you say it, but it's not cool.
It's not cool.
Then they shave your head out, or shave your hair off.
Yeah.
Man, it was a culture shock, because before I went to prison, I didn't know this existed, like reality. I didn't understand my consequences when I was doing what I was doing. I was just living.
Yeah. You hear of prison, but
I knew it. But I grew up on Disney movies. Like, straight up, I believe that, hey, that good guy's gonna win every day. And that's just not how it works. What the world is cruel. Yeah. They don't care. That's why you have to be conscious of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I ended up doing 3 years because I got caught up in a riot, and my parole got set off for another year, and I was already in there for a year.
Did you make friends in there?
Yes, I made a few, and one I still have a Facebook friend that I went to prison with, and he's still messing up here and there, but he moved to Oklahoma to where that's a little bit relaxed, like as far as laws, and he's able to be okay, but he'll he was older than me, and he schooled me on how to make it to prison. Like I met him in Denton County, and we spent a year together in that same pod.
So you linked up with someone, you were able to lean on someone.
Yes, because I had to, because I was very afraid. You know, all these horror stories. You know, growing up, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't want to get beat up and get my butt taken. You know, like
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's just I was terrified, but I couldn't show it
Yeah.
because I was by myself. If I showed it, then they're going to get me, you know, even worse.
Yeah.
So I was able to be real with this guy, and we were able to get on a real level to where I could be honest with him and tell him the things that I couldn't tell just everybody in my family or people that I knew out there in the world, to be able to start getting over the things that I went through.
Yeah.
And start forgiving myself or the things that I went through. People, you know.
Do you did you see anything in there? Like
Yeah, so my cellmate.
crazy thing?
The one thing that really it still haunts me today, like I could close my eyes and see his face. So I had a cellie named Childs, and he was an old country boy, black guy, probably about 38 at that time, and I was 20-something. I was a young spree cat, you know.
Yeah.
Knees didn't hurt as bad.
So how old were you?
So I was 22, 23 when I went to prison, because I was 21 when my dad passed away, and right after my dad passed away, I went straight to prison right after that, because I said my give dam is broken, you know. That country song.
Yeah.
But you know, so I had this was 2.5 years of me being incarcerated. I met a dude. He was my cellie at the rehab. I had to go to a halfway house before I could get released to get substance abuse treatment and anger management. That was part of my stipulations for parole. Well, me and him, man, he was older than me, of course, and he was just so cool. And he talked like this, and he was just so slow, and he was down to earth, and he always shared his honey buns. He's like, "You want a honey bun?" And I always gave him ice cream, you know, on store days, because you only get to go to store.
I got some honey buns in the pantry.
Yeah, I love him. But he passed away, and it was weird how it happened, because I tried to wake him up for breakfast one morning to go to, you know, we woke up at 4:30 in the morning to go take our laundry to the laundry, you know, the place to drop off our laundry. And then at 5:45, it's chow rolling. If you have 5 minutes to get up and get out. If you don't get up, get out, you miss out. You don't get eat. So I tried to wake him up, and he looked at me and said, "No, I'm going back to sleep. I'll holler at you in the afternoon." I said, "Okay, cool." Well, by the time I got back, you know, I went back to sleep after I ate, and when I woke up, I tried to wake him up again at lunch. And at this time, when I shook him, he wouldn't respond, and I turned him over. And, you know, purple face, purple lips, purple tongue. He had a seizure in his sleep, and he choked on, you know, he suffocated.
Oh, wow.
Which, you know, they shook down the whole pod. We were in lockdown for five days because they were thinking there was a suicide, like not suicide, but somebody killed him or something.
Yeah.
So that was pretty horrifying. And he had 2 kids. All he was there for is drinking and driving. That's it. You know, and, you know, it sucks to know that if you make one mistake in your life, the consequence of what that one bad mistake is, you know, it's not worth it.
No, but again, we make choices every day.
100%.
But it's good to hear that, because you never know what one wrong choice can lead you to. And that's why it's so important to learn. And to have consequences. So if you would have had consequences earlier in life, you may have never gotten to that point.
That's it. You know, my mom, she didn't spank. My granny, she'd get that wooden spoon. You know, I should just hold it up, and I'd be, "Okay, I'm sorry." You know, 'cause she'll get my hands, you know.
Yeah.
But my mama, she'd just threaten me all the time.
Yeah.
And I knew I could get by with murder.
Yeah.
Like, "Don't touch that hot stove." "Okay, ow."
Yeah.
And I'd still do it. "Ow." You know, like,
Yeah. But I think a lot of your story is, of course, childhood and not having someone to lean on, right? And then depending on friends
somebody
to lean
connect
on.
with.
Friends are going to come and go for the most part. Sometimes they don't, and you get lucky. But that's why it's so important as a parent, when you do have kids, or even your nieces and nephews, or anybody that looks up to you, is to teach them and have, you know, be there for them.
Yeah.
And that's one good thing, or one thing I do well with both my kids, is I'm always there. I can always do better. But from my history, from my story, there's some similarities in my childhood growing up to yours. Of course, it's completely different, but some similarities. not having a male figure, you during the time you don't even realize it. It's just life,
Yeah.
you know.
That's
and
it.
But in hindsight, looking back at it, like not knowing even how to shave when I finally got hit puberty,
remember
man. Just little things like that, like not really having, not even knowing how to talk to women. I'm
Yeah.
still awkward.
Yeah,
Everybody knows
very.
I'm awkward. But it's, little things like that when you have your dad, your mom's only going to show you so much.
That's it.
And if they're carrying 100%, it's still only 50%. There needs to be a mom and dad. And in a lot of cases,
100%.
there can't be a mom and dad. But usually a child, what I've learned, will get influences from two parental figures in their life. So rather it's a single mom and a grandma, which happened to me. So it was my grandma and my mom, the two closest people for a while. And then it was pretty much my grandma when my mom couldn't take care of herself. So, in my childhood, I grew up in California. And, during childhood, we lived in a, okay house. Now that I look back at it, my mom depended on my grandma all the time, her mom, right? And so we lived with grandma a lot in California. Lower class. We didn't have a lot of money, but we weren't poor. Grandma always worked, But once my grandmother moved to Texas in 92, so I was probably like 7 or 8. No, I was 5.
That's when we left the trailer park.
Trailer park? But my grandma came to Denton because Peterbilt moved out to Denton. So we lived in the Bay Area in California. So she moved out. My mom stayed in her house, right? Because she couldn't take care of herself. But now she didn't have grandma, but she had her house. And so I lived with my mom a lot. So I lived with, then it was my older sister, my younger sister. So there's 2 of us, me. And now that I look back at it, I think if I would have stayed in that situation, who knows where I'd be now.
So how did you get out of that? Like what happened?
Well, when I look back at it, I don't even know who was really taking care of us. I think my mom was. And I think at that point of her life was probably, I don't even want to say good, but the best that she has been ever in her life. But again, I was too young to really understand. I know she was very, my mom is a very pretty lady, so she was always the pretty girl out of her 3 or 4 siblings. And but she was always the problem child. Like my grandma would always tell me she'd always go as a young girl and get caught stealing from the convenience store. My grandma had to go tell her to go bring it back. So she was always the problem child. But at a young age, she claimed she was molested. And I believe that. We believe it. It happens a lot. Yeah. Unfortunately, it happens a lot. And unfortunately, she never got away from that. And she has used that. And I'm not saying that I know anything about what that's like, but she has used that to never be able to, care for her own self.
It's a crutch.
Let alone all her kids. So all of us kids had to grow up on our own with grandma. Yeah. But grandma can only do so much. Sure, yeah. So
grannies, that's love. She's gonna make sure you're okay.
Yeah. And so at the time, we didn't know my mom went through that. But looking back at it, all her problems seem to stem from that. And again, victims, it's so sad, and I'm so glad there's more being done today to catch people, because it always starts in the family and it just keeps going.
That's it.
So if a dad is doing that, their dad probably did it, or their uncle did it to them, and it's a vicious cycle.
People learn from something or someone.
Yep.
They don't just think of it.
Yep. And unfortunately, my mom never could hack it after. And even to this day, I hold a lot of resentment towards her because because of how she didn't raise us back then, how she treated her mom. She always took it out on her mom, which, it's understandable. You're angry at your mom for letting that happen. Yeah. But at the same time, when you have kids, you have to you gotta hack it.
Life on life's terms.
You gotta go see a counselor, and you gotta suck it up.
You gotta make it work.
And now it's easy for me to say that. So, but in hindsight, that's why I've had a lot of resentment. Is not. I forgive her for not being the mom that she needed to be. Obviously, knowing what she went through, but I haven't forgiven her for how she's treated her mom continuously until Grandma passed. And I do need to forgive, because that's the only way I'm going to get through it. And I don't want to be angry at her the way she was angry at my grandma.
I still struggle with that with my dad, forgiving him. So I can relate big time to that.
Yeah.
But we have to, forgive, him and ourselves for wrongdoings. But like you said, it's easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah. And for all the victims out there, you don't want to act like, oh, they just need to suck it up, because that's not reality. They need counseling.
They suppress it. I was that guy. Mm-hmm. I wore the cape. I was always the Superman. But in reality, I was the scapegoat. I always hid from my hurts, my pain. Yeah. And I always try to help everybody else, because I wanted to hide what I felt. Yeah.
My sister was the spot that you chose. So she's always trying to help the family and keep the family together. And she still is to this day, my older sister. But yeah, my mom never could get it. And there's a lot of resentment, and it's hard for me, because I want to forgive and move forward. But I made a commitment to myself, and I cannot allow her back into my life until she can take care of herself.
You had to put those boundaries up.
Or has efforts to take care of herself.
100%.
Because now I have a family. And if she's going to be around my family, it's not just me. It's my kids, and it's my wife.
That's it.
And it can affect them.
100%.
So if she uses narcotics, if she is not in the right state of mind, I can choose. That doesn't mean it's the right way to go, because a lot of people are family or is blood. But the way I choose is you're out. You're out until you can at least show me that you're trying to take care of yourself.
And like I said, I'm not a Bible thumper, but I have a lot of scripture in my head, and one verse pops up. It says, "Choose life, not death." Past blessings and cursings, and you're choosing the blessings because you're putting that wall up and saying, "No, this is not what I want in for my family, for my son, for my wife. This is a standard that we're going to hold, and everything else is going to be pushed away, because I'm not going to have them go through what I had to go through."
Yep. Yeah, and it's tough.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
It's a family member.
Yes,
and I think a lot of people struggle with that.
My sobriety, I lost 3 sisters. Those 3 sisters, my dad's kids, and a different mom. I'm more like them than anything. Like my blood sister Melissa. I'm sorry, but she's like my mama, spitting image, just like the Lavelle side. I'm like the Masons and all 3 of my other sisters. Like, I blend in so well with them. We're mischievous. We do stuff. We want to get on a dirt bike. All my sisters rode dirt bikes. So but I don't talk to them anymore. I had to cut them out because they choose to still live a life that I can't live. So I had to have that standard, that wall up to protect myself. Yep,
you have to, and you're the sum of the 5 closest people around you, and that is 100% true. Yeah. And that's why back in the day, when you got into your trouble, look at your friends. Yeah. If you want to look at your future, and I always say this quote over and over: if you want me to tell you your future, show me your friends. And I'll tell you your future.
Yeah.
And the same thing with me is like, my friends were different back in the day. Now, if I look at who's the closest to me, everybody has good energy, something going for them in life. And I didn't carefully choose them. But when I got with Lauren, I noticed I gravitated towards those people, because
energy pulls to each other. If you have that same like energy, that energy pulls. It attracts. It attracts that person.
Yep. Since Lauren's been in my life, I've made a relationship with my dad's side of the family. I never knew any of them.
That's cool.
Never knew any of them until Lauren came around. They had reached out to me, and we made somewhat of a connection prior to Lauren. But it was just through social media.
But she was the key. And now I have a pretty good relationship with them. We try to go see them once a year.
That's cool. And, everybody, like even my best friend from high school, I was not close to him. Of course, I always randomly called him maybe every other year. Now they come over a lot. We go hang out with them a lot. It's just crazy how if you get around the right people, your life will change. You're forced to change.
In high school, I experienced that. When I became friends with you, in high school, I knew you from another guy, one that I was really close to friends with, and I think this is 9th, 10th grade that I knew Shane. I'm sorry, but we're gonna say it. Sorry, but and me and him were close, and I connected with him in a big way. But I was from the low end of life. Like I was ramen noodles, macaroni, and hamburger helper. The steak was like once a month. Like I was very low end. Like my shoes, I only had one pair of shoes all year, and if I got them messed up, I'd wear them all year with holes in them. I had to. Yeah. So but the choice that I made to start being around different, the way I wanted to have life, the friends that I migrated to were the people that live in life the way I wanted to. Mm-hmm. They attracted to me that way.
Yeah. And even at the time, like in high school, I was around the drinking crew.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But that wasn't, looking back at, that wasn't the healthiest.
Definitely
I
not.
love all those guys, but that wasn't the healthiest crew. And there's a few of them that are no longer with us.
That's hard to believe. I mean,
it's just. But if you look at every single one of those guys, or anybody in high school that was in a clique that was around substance, whether it was just alcohol or even drugs. There's a reason for it, and it's usually goes through their family troubles, and it's just all my friends in life have some kind of they like drinking, they like partying a little bit, but I have to make sure I'm around the ones that have ambition too.
That's it,
because
100%.
You got to find that balance. I don't want. I'm not good friends with anybody that is completely a square.
Already.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
and we don't mix.
Yeah.
But I need someone who's going to get in just enough trouble with me, and then we can still function.
Yeah.
The next day.
That's it. Yeah.
And still grow.
That goes to bed every night.
Yeah.
It has a curve, that has standards, that has morals, that has value.
Yes.
It's all important.
You can't be cheating on your wife and want to come hang out with me.
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, that's just
you are what you eat. Yeah. And it's just like the way you are what you surround yourself with. Yeah. If you surround yourself with bad or the sin, whatever you Christian people out there that are listening, whatever it is that you surround yourself with, it's important that you understand that that's going to affect your life in a big way.
Yes, relationships are one of the most powerful things. That's why you want to be in a relationship. You don't want to rush it because there is a power to it.
Yeah, I'm scared nowadays.
With Lauren, and this goes, and I'm not just talking about just Lauren, even though Lauren's been a huge part, but anyone that finds somebody that is their rock, there's a lot of power, and people sometimes rush it and pressure it because they have social media. They're going to see that person's doing great. We all have problems. Me and Lauren have issues, and we get through them. But overall, we're happy, and because we're around good people.
It's not what you go through; it's how you get over it.
It is, and it's with me and Lauren. It's what I've realized is how powerful a relationship is, and it's not only linked me to my dad's side of the family and my good friends, and made me a better person. It stabilized me. Like, I don't want to go get in the trouble that I used to. I want to be at home with them.
You got something to lose.
I want to hang out with her. Yesterday, I'm like, hey, you ready to hang out with me? And she's like, oh, my God. But I don't want to go anywhere. I want my business.
That's your best friend. That's your that's your everything.
Yeah, sometimes we hate each other, man.
Sure, it happens. I
mean, but together, like, even the image of us that people, you can tell if somebody's happy or they're not.
100%.
And we're happy. And when we get around people, and today I had a random girl message me, and she was like, "Oh my God, I love your wife. I've never met her, but I love her." And I'm like, "You need to add her on Facebook and message her."
Yeah.
The energy she radiates, and it's just so important. But it comes with responsibility.
100%.
So that's where it's like you don't need to rush it. Don't sit there and be like, "Oh, I wish I had." No. Keep doing the right things,
that's it.
And you will attract the right one because you have to. If you don't, you are the sum of...
I'm going to cry.
No, you're still young, man. There's people in their 50s and 60s that are still looking for this, Kyle. Yeah. Or they went through 4 divorces, bro.
I get it. And that's one thing I'm blessed, through the 20 years of addiction I never, had to lose a kid, when they were, in teenager years. I never had to, lose a wife, several times over. And I did lose girlfriends. I only had 5 of them my whole life. 5.
Yeah.
5. And I've lost them all.
Yeah.
They've left me. I've always, I never would leave them because I believe in love.
It was a lesson. It was just it was a learn.
Yeah, definitely. Now I'm just like, it's still cold. We're gonna chill for a minute. Let's go in the hot tub and hang out. I don't want to get in that water yet.
Well, I look and see, and this is why I wanted you to come on today, is because I look and see your passion in it, and it has nothing to do because you come over here and you've worked around my house and helped my neighbors, but it's your passion to become a better you.
I have to be.
And
the things that I went through.
Yeah,
things
and you coming over here is a big step to that.
Huge.
I thought maybe you're probably going to cancel on me.
Yeah, I get it.
Because that's one thing you've been
Anxiety's
doing a lot.
real,
and
though, bro.
I know it's anxiety. I know it is. But I'm proud of you for coming over here because this is you gotta get out of your comfort zone if you want to grow. But you only want to be there if you're in a healthy light. And I think your light is healthier, and that's just my opinion. Your energy is always good, and it's not. I don't want to just give you work to somebody because you're my buddy.
That means something to me too. I mean, hugely.
I want everybody to know about you because of the person you are. I know that they can trust you. I know if I go send you to a neighbor to go do a job, not only is the job going to be good, but you're a good person.
Thank you.
You combine those two, that's when you can be a good businessman. There's a lot of people that get in business just for printing money.
Sure.
And they fail, always. And if they haven't failed yet, they will one day. There's a lot of billionaires out there that end up falling on their face. And the wrestling community knows what I'm talking about. The billionaire owner, man, he was not a good person. And now look at him, man. He's got allegations. And business is not all about money. You got to be a good person. You got to believe in what you're doing. And so for you to come and be like, I just want to take care of people. And I tell you, hey, well, make sure your pricing is at a point to where you can survive on your own. You don't want to take care of somebody where you puts you behind, because then you can't take care of nobody else.
And you're 100% right. But so that's where my heart and my mind struggle. And that's where I'm okay with, like, I'm okay with taking a loss, especially if it's for a good cause. I don't mind, doing 4 or 5 services if they're saying, hey, I need you to do this, but I can't afford this. Okay, I got you. Let's go ahead and take care of this and this. Because I had a mentor that taught me everything I know. And that's why I know what I know, is because when I got out of prison, I met this guy that owned a company in Denton. And he took me under his wing and dealt with me. I still had a drug addiction. I still would walk off jobs, but he stood there like my dad would have, should have.
That's his charity work.
That's it. And in 10 years, he dealt with me and instilled everything that I know today. And I might not be the tradesman that he wanted me to be, like him, because, I didn't start it at 9. I started it at 24 years old. And I was still struggling with addiction. But I was gifted the things that I know now. I dropped out of high school. I went to Lincoln Tech, learned how to weld, but I dropped out of that too, because I was in drugs. So with Ken, Atlas Construction, Denton, Texas, man, they blessed me. They actually believed in me, and they actually wanted me there. And that's all I ever wanted, was to be wanted or to be liked.
But to be accepted.
Yeah.
It's part of the human nature, man. And a lot of people get that when in childhood, but if you don't, you're going to keep searching for
That's it.
And you see a lot of people online, man. They got to take pictures and selfies and videos. They got to feel accepted. And it's sad because it's usually through childhood is where they missed out on it, and they need it. And the brain is a powerful thing, man. But if you can realize, what you do, why you do it, it's a powerful thing.
You got to look at that mirror. You got to self-evaluate yourself daily, weekly, even whatever it takes to make it to where you can keep on stepping up. Because once you stop stepping, once you stop growing, then you become stagnant. And what happens to stagnant water? It starts stinking. You can't drink it. And it's unhealthy. So you got to for yourself. You
got to grow. You have to. And that's the thing about humans, man. The only way we can grow is with each other. You can't do it alone.
We weren't made to be alone.
There's that saying that if you want to go If you want to go fast, you go by yourself. If you want to go far, you go as a team.
You sure right.
And
Yeah.
that's how I look at my business. We help people. You know, we help them live longer. I've changed my business model and business image over the past few years to be less about the physical part of somebody's transformation and more about the mental. And just to watch the business grow in like good energy is great. Like we're a sales business, but when people come and sit in front of us, it's not like, oh my, I'm going to get this sale. I'm going to get this sale. It's people come and sit in front of us and I start talking to them and I'm like, listen, this is a sales business, but we only want your money as if you're comfortable.
That's it.
With this.
That's it.
And this is about your mind. We want you to come in and feel good.
What's
We're
your
gonna
goals? What's your
stretch you.
aspirations?
We're going to have good energy in here. We're going to give you a trainer that connects to you mentally. And then physically, anybody can help you. Anybody can make you move. But we want you to be a part of our community where you come in, you feel welcome,
That's
right?
awesome.
You feel
Yeah.
accepted. And that way you stay with us forever. And even if you're with us for a month and you need to leave because of financials or personal reasons, we want you to go tell your friends how good of a time you had with
That's
us.
it.
And you know what? Every day I drive into work, I think that way, and I feel good, and good usually happens.
100%.
And I had to learn that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at the beginning, but what I do well in is I always remind myself about the good and try to learn. And I found out my brain is, I found out my brain does this well when I went to co-parenting counseling, when me and my son's mother went through our separation. Through the courts, we decided to go to co-parenting counseling. Like it was a requirement. They told us, hey, you got to go to co-parenting counseling, and then we'll set your custody arrangements. And so we went to co-parenting counseling, and she hated it. And, you know, her mind was closed to that.
Sure.
But that's her thing. That's her thing. For me, my mind was open. I didn't know it was until I started going, and I loved going. I couldn't wait to get back. And the therapist kept telling me, hey, this isn't about, he said, you better not be in here thinking you're in here because of your partner. We're in here because of you. And so I had to sit and reflect on myself.
Yes,
and
yes.
She called me a womanizer. And I had to accept that and understand. And I remember her sitting down and said, when are you going to stop preying on these women and quit being a womanizer? And I'm like, it was just me and her. I'm like, today? Today I'll stop? But I didn't know that I was doing that.
Yeah, you can't control other people's feelings, you know,
No.
or their thoughts,
Yeah.
you know, about you.
Yeah.
And one thing that I can relate definitely is when I'm going to work in the morning, I put myself out of the picture. Because for 20 years, I was me first.
Yeah.
And now I live for everybody else. That's my energy,
Yeah.
is being able to say, I got you.
Yeah.
Because I never had that growing up. I never
Yep.
had that, I got you.
Yeah.
Until Ken came along and said, hey, I got you. 10 years. He said, no, you know, you can't quit. Come on.
Yeah.
And every morning. I'd quit that day, and then he'd come back the next morning and pick me up and say, come on. He'd hey, stop laboring. Come here. This is what you do. And he would teach me. I'm not the easiest to teach, especially after 20 years of addiction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he really got a nail of it. You know?
Yeah.
But it takes people, your friends, a close connection with your heart to understand the values of life.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man, 100%. But yeah, with family, it's crazy with relationships and how powerful it is. It comes with the responsibility, and you know, a lot of people don't understand that responsibility, and you know, that's why a lot of marriages fail, man.
That's why a lot of businesses too, I imagine.
And back to the business side of things, yeah, business. It's hard to manage, but it again, just like a marriage, it's the beautiful things can happen with it. You know, how you can, if you look at it as a way to touch the community, lift up the community, your business will keep going. And it's up to me to make sure I manage it well and it keeps going the right way. But it brings me back to people like you and telling your story, making sure you're connecting with everybody. And then now you have a business of your own, right?
Yes, sir.
So talk about your business.
You know, I do a handyman business, Denton County, surrounding areas, and man, I just focus on just one-on-one service, being there for people. I'm a service guy. I'm a service guy. I like being there for people when they're in need, and I don't like
So like
charging.
what services?
So any kind of home repair, any kind of home maintenance, you could do remodels, concrete work. I mean, you name it besides electrical, I'll tackle for you. If I don't know it, I know the people that will treat you fair with the price, affordably, well to you. And I got avenues that if you can't afford anybody, there's still some avenues that we can go through.
Yeah.
And if that fails, then guess what? I'm going to be there free, and we're going to figure this out. You're not going to be left alone.
Do you have a name for the business?
Yeah, so it's Kyle Mason's Custom Handyman Services.
Cool.
And I just started. I've been open about 5 years, but I just now started. Recently this year, trying to actually promote and go forward with it.
Yeah.
Because I've done landscaping, I've done all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I was a knucklehead, so I had to go to do a lot of trades. I had to move around.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. You're helping people out, and so many people need handyman services.
Yeah.
Especially when they like Lauren does not have a handyman with me. I don't know how to because I didn't have a dad growing up, so I didn't have a dad teaching me how to do all the simple stuff. I call you. I'm like, Kyle, come over here. But that's great because you provide a service for people in need, especially older populations.
Yes,
too,
and my seniors, man, they seniors and teenagers, they have a real close connection in my heart, and of course, families. Like when I see a family and they say, "Hey, I need some landscaping." Well, I know they live in an HOA community, so it's a have-to thing. Still want it nice, but they can't. They have 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They can't afford a big company to come out there and charge them so much outrageous amount.
Yeah.
So I come in and I give it, per hour job, and I said, this is how it's going to cost. You just pay for materials, and my labor is going to be fair.
Yeah.
And there's always, if what I say is not affordable to you, talk to me. I'm always open.
Try to make it work.
Yeah.
That's
Just
what
to
a lot
make
of
it
companies
happen.
can't do.
Yep.
So that's great. But man, it was great talking with you today. We'll have you back on and we'll chat more. I'm sure we have a lot more stories we can go over. And as your business grows, I'd love to bring you back on and talk more about it.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate
All right, man.
it.
Appreciate you. Awesome.